Hello and welcome to this game review. So this was quite a well played game by white, and still let's try to analyze and see how we could have used a bit more time, as this is a 1 hour game, so we should use a lot of it, and also how we could defend from the opponent's threats in the most active possible way. So e4, e5, knight f3, and black played knight f6. This is called the Petrov defense. If here, black will probably play d6, and then we will go back, and the knight takes e4, which is of course fine for both sides, but still white is a little bit ahead. We can also think about d4 here, since in a symmetrical position where it's white to move, white will be faster because it's his move. Knight c3 is also possible, knight b4, bishop b4. Now d3, but this is again a very passive move, because I understand black is threatening to maybe take this pawn, but we can take this pawn as well. And there's no reason not to do this. If here, he can win our pawn, but after queen g4, again, white is to move, so he is faster. Knight d3, black takes, knight c6, bishop e3. At this point, maybe we should understand that black's idea is to play d5 to open up the position and improve his pieces, where our structure will not be very good. So maybe c4. Now that we have these doubled pawns, we can use them to our advantage. The other pawn can come to c3 to defend the d4 square, and black will never play d5. Bishop e3, h6, again c4 maybe, but okay, bishop e2, d5. And now after white takes, here black is a little bit better because he has more space, his pieces are better developed, and he has the center. So queen d2, castles, and black takes this bishop, which helps white because this bishop was not really doing anything anyway, so we are happy that he took it. The queen is improved, queen f6, h3. This move, it's not very necessary. In general, in the opening, we should not make moves like this, like the opponent has played, because they just waste time and give up the move to the opponent. Instead, we should look for ways to develop our pieces as soon as possible. So, for example, rook e1, after we move these pieces, the pawn on e5 will be attacked, or rook b1, now that we have this line for our rook. Can also put it on b5 to attack the pawn as well. So we should look for ways to develop the pieces as soon as possible. h3, queen g6, but this gives a pawn. Well, it trades the e5 pawn for h3, and of course black will be threatening checkmate, but that is easy to deal with, and in the long term, exchanging the central pawn for h3 will be definitely good for white. So this is what happened. Importantly, there's no move like rook e8 winning the bishop, because the rook is now not defended, so we could take it. So bishop h3, and now white played queen h2 quite quickly, which attacks the bishop and defends here as well. Bishop d7, queen c7, and now we have won a pawn, and here, well, again, we have to somehow defend from the mate on g2, and there are many ways to do this. For example, f3. We do not like this at all because it opens our king and weakens the squares and makes our bishop bad. Well, in g3 we don't want to do this because now this whole diagonal is weak, and again, for example, queen e6, queen h3 would be very bad. So white played queen h2, but also another way to play is queen g3. And this does double our pawns, but when we have a pawn up, we want to exchange pieces as much as possible, because in the endgame, we will be able to use all of these pawns to create a queen. So if black wants to exchange, this is good. We can also improve our king very easily now. The bishop can go to f3, and this is very good for white. Queen h2, rook e8. Now we are a little bit passive. Our pieces are not very well placed. But here, white finally develops the pieces. Rook e1. Now we get the only open file. Rook c8, queen h3. This is a very good move, as now the pawn is attacked and we defend it while also attacking something else, so we do not lose time. So rook c7, queen g3, rook c6, and now white thinks for a while and gives this check, which is a good move. And after king h7, white goes back. So this is quite unfortunate. We generally shouldn't go back unless we have a good reason to do this. And the first thing we should think about are checks, captures, and attacks. So here there are a couple of checks. Bishop g6, rook h8, queen d3, but they all don't work. So what else? Captures, well, there's this capture here or here. This also does not work. But finally, we need to look for attacks or threats. And we can threaten checkmate with queen b8. And it's not that easy to deal with. Now, black should move the g-pawn so that the queen defends the square, for example, g5. But now this king is very weak. And for example, bishop f3, we can remaneuver the bishop here, and we have a very strong attack. Instead, rook e1. White is, of course, still doing fine here. Bishop a4, attacking the pawn, but we don't really care at the moment. Bishop f3 is a good move to attack the rook. So now rook takes c3 because the queen is not defending here, but white found a nice tactic here, which is a discovered check. Bishop e4, and even though the queen is hanging, it's check, so black cannot take it. After this, we win the rook, and from here, white won quite easily by exchanging queens, which is a good way to play. So pretty well played by white. We could have used a little bit more time here, as we still have 48 minutes, but as long as we win, it is okay.